Hey, this is Kirk.
And this is where it's the Kirk Byrd Show. And we've got Coach Sherman Rivers of Patriot High School Boys basketball. Welcome to the show, Coach.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all having me again.
Yeah, we appreciate you joining us. I know this is a very busy week for you, but we wanted to check in just to see how things are going. But look, you guys we're letting folks know this is an interview before the state championship on Saturday. And I was telling Kirk, and I've said it on our show, and I said it a couple of times, I was like, I remember, like, you told me, you were like, we will be back. And you said that joint like a movie line, like the Terminator. I was like, you said that, man, and I wasn't recording it. We were just talking. The way you said it, I was like, oh, snap. He's serious. Like, they're going to be back. And all year, what I like is that your season, you needed to get through it, and you grew from it, but this is where you want to be. This is where you want to be. But so tell us about this season. We've had you on, and we know that this is a much more difficult schedule, and that was on purpose. But I think it achieved what you needed and wanted. So tell us about this season, and then we'll get into this game.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, listen, you hit the nail on the head, but we really wanted to make sure that we did everything we could to get back to this point. I really felt that after that game last year, even before, the additions of Tay, before even knowing about that I was like, we're going to be back here because I knew what those kids really felt not being able to achieve their ultimate goal. And, I knew how much better Isaiah would be. I knew how much better Desmond would be. I knew the guys that we had coming back that were going to contribute a lot more than, the Abe Haleems or Ryan Keenans, Makai Dillards, those type of guys, and even the young guys, Kai Wilcox, and some of the guys that, have stepped up this year, with Carter Kermody playing at the point. So I just was very excited about what we had coming back and knowing what they were going to feel, knowing they didn't get what they wanted out of the previous season.
So you had that difficult schedule, but you beat and you played some really good teams, and you actually played South Lakes. Can you tell us how that is going to help you for this game on Saturday?
I mean, listen, the schedule obviously is geared towards getting us ready for being able to achieve what we want to get out of the playoffs. Traveling down and playing at Princess Anne against Woodside to open up. I think they were on their like maybe fifth or sixth game. We were playing our first, getting that tough matchup early, playing against, our last loss was against a WCAC school in Archbishop Carroll, playing South Lakes, playing at Hampton, playing, against
Woodside.
The Woodside game, obviously Grace Brethren, playing against Evergreen Christian on TV. We were able to play in a lot of different environments and a lot of road games too, and in tough situations where, our guys have seen, we're down this much at this point, or we're up this much at this point. This team's playing the zone. This team's playing this sort of man-to-man. This team's pressing. Hostile environments, being down the 7-5-7, you guys know how it is. So when we got in these sort of situations throughout the playoffs, it wasn't any panic in their face, and they knew that they were confident enough to make the plays when they need to make them. So I'm excited about where we're at right now, and I'm looking forward to Saturday.
Yeah, Coach, I wanted to ask you, I know you guys are confident, and I mean that in a good way. What I mean by that is your kids are not going to be like, okay, this is the toughest. I mean, you've faced very tough teams and tough environments all over the place. Dare I say this is not the best team you're going to play. And you've also experienced some losses. And, Tay Barber is an unbelievable addition. In top 5, I think you guys are quality. So I know you're confident. And I want you to comment on that. But one other thing, too. How do you feel about the fact that you already beat them and how that plays in? But let's start off with, I know your kids are dying to get down there and play on Saturday.
Absolutely. Obviously Tay being new to it, it's a little different, for him. But, the confidence of the other guys of having gone through this process last year and playing in that game, the newness is not there for them. It's not the same level of like, wow, I can't believe we made it here. We finally got here. This might have been one of our best practices of the year that we had today, just really sharp, really intense. Guys talking trash back and forth to one another, which, always invite that in practice. So, and we had some of our older guys come back to watch. They were on those previous teams with Jay and Caden, and Courtney Davis were there as well. So, it just the atmosphere is great. I'm really, I'm excited about how confident they are in themselves, but not to the point of being like overconfident where they feel like they're looking down on an opponent. They know what we're dealing with, obviously, because we played them earlier in the year. You can take some things from that, but really good basketball teams have made so many changes from that point till now. And I'm sure Mike Desmond is exactly the same. Very good coach, very good basketball team. Kids are smart, so there'll be some stuff that might be similar, but you can't really read too much in the fact that we played and beat them. It just, if anything, that gives them more motivation than it does for us.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So having said that, for those watching us that are not familiar with South Lakes, you've already played them. I know you've scouted them. Just give us a general overview of what kind of team that is. I've seen them play twice. I saw them play against you, and I saw them play in the playoffs, and I was very impressed. But would like to get your take, maybe just a 3 minute about their strengths and how good that team is.
Well, a lot of the stuff you're going to see is a lot of the things that we're going to do. So it's, I definitely can admire a lot of the stuff that they do on the defensive end for sure. They got some kids that are going to get after you in their guard. They're going to help. They're going to take charges. They're going to get a lot of deflections. Offensively, it starts with Jordan Scott. He's a really good player, and to think about how efficient he is, and his footwork is always really good around the basket, especially avoiding charges or making it that little last spin to get something off. And then I think he's an underrated defender, especially at protecting the rim with his length. Then you put the guards out there with Kennedy and Vita, who can both, create some stuff for themselves on the offensive end, but are really, tough on the defensive end, how they get after you and guard. They have some versatility with the guys they come with off the bench. The two wings that are, I think two of their most underrated players, the kid number 4, number 3. I can't remember names. But they do a lot for them, 4 being the better shooter of the two and 3 being the more physical. But the things that they bring as far as like the glue and tangibles, you can't really measure that. And then you have the Rochester kid coming back. I know he was injured for a little bit, and the kid they got from New Zealand, who I think is very good, and also a young player and up and rise. So we got a lot of things we're gonna have to be aware of and be ready for. But they got to be ready for us as well. I'm pretty good with the guys that we got coming into this.
Yeah, Coach, you've got three teams you played on your schedule that are playing in these last 3 days.
Wow.
You got Hampton, Woodside, and South Lakes. And that's
Absolutely.
I'm not going to go with. I know there are private schools, and then Hayfield just missed being here. In fact, in reviewing your schedule and your wins, you all. It's funny because you've had some tough points in some games, but in case our fans don't know, you have all of your victories. You haven't had a game that wasn't a double-digit win.
Yeah.
The last team that was less than 10 points was Hayfield.
Yep.
And so
that was without Isaiah. He sat out that game.
That's right. Did he have I think might have had a boot on his foot or something like that?
Yeah, he just had a rolled ankle, so he was just nursing it.
Yeah. I mean, and so it's not like you guys would be overconfident, because I tell you, you've had double-digit wins, but I've seen where you were down at the end of a quarter or close at the half. And so I like the fact that you have had some challenges, just not going up there, laying the ball up. These are good teams. They're pushing you, but it's the thing, man, and this is what I told you, Coach, like a light flip for me last year when you were in the playoffs and I saw your defense go to another level. I was like,
wow.
I know Coach, but like it was just like a whole nother level of respect. And to me, it didn't matter if you won or lost some of those things, but I just saw the way your kids responded. I saw the buttons you were pushing, and I was like, oh, this brother has got it going. And so you did it last year, and I was like, okay, he's legit. Then this year, at the right time, it's happening, and I think things are aligning. But we're in no way underestimating your opponent. But I'm noticing that your scores, but the attitude of your players, it just seems to be you seem to be in a good place.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that for sure.
South Lakes, they play some great defense too. It's intense, and that's one of the great things, about watching your team. The defense is going to come. See, I know you guys are confident, and I know you think you're going to win. And again, I don't mean that in a bad way. That's a good way.
Right.
So my question is, we know you got to play great defense, cut down on the turnovers, mistakes, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're cutting down the nets, what do you think your team will have done good? And what is the key? Maybe the one key area you would highlight?
I mean, we make shots. Anything we learned last year. We played really good defense last year in that game. We didn't make any shots. So, if we made our first 3 to start the game and we didn't make another one for the rest of the game. At the end of the day, you can get stops as many as you want to. You got to put the ball in the basket. And I'm very confident in the guys that we're putting on the floor that we're going to put the ball in the basket. So,
Coach, did you all have any of your tournaments or games where you played in a larger arena like that? I know when you're not in a high school gym and the depth perception. If you had any experience, or this year's team had any experience in an environment like that?
This year's team has not in like that big of a arena like that. Maybe the closest thing would have been at North Point. There's this kind of spaced out, almost like how Robinson is.
Oh yeah.
So Robinson. that would be the closest thing we had to, an arena like environment. But like I said, man, it's a lot of our guys played in that game last year. I'm confident that they'll be okay.
All right, and then we'll let you go in a sec. I know one thing that you can't control, and I try not to be too biased when it's a team I'm kind of pulling for, but it's officiating. I sat there last year, and not just your game, but a couple of games. I'm going, how are these the best?
Right.
Okay, that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Okay.
Oh man, I'm not gonna get in trouble, but that's how I came out of our game. Like I said, this was the best ones.
Yeah. So I guess I want. Is that something that you or your coaches ever even think about or prepare? Maybe you don't share it with the players, but is there anything that ever, when you're doing your whole formula for winning, do you calculate like how I'm going to respond, or how if Tay or gets 3 quick ones? Like, is that a part of your calculation as a coach?
We're gonna knock on wood and hope that don't happen. But you know what I'm saying?
Mostly I'm talking about your
right. But the thing that we do, I know the competition is very important. That is extremely important. But the other piece to that we don't really talk about is I want our kids to see different types of officials. I want them to see how they officiate down to 757. We didn't play any games in Richmond this year, but we were supposed to play LC Byrd, but that game fell through. I like them to see that. I like them to see how they ref in PG County and up in DC. I like them seeing all that. So when it gets to a game like this, you can't say, well, I've never seen that before.
Right.
And so that's really the biggest part of us traveling and doing and playing all the games that we play. Competition's a big part of it, but seeing the different type of officiating, because it's a different ball game depending on where you are. And some referees let you play a little bit more. Some are going to call you out on the perimeter. Some are going to not call anything under the basket. So if we've seen it in all parts and we played in all parts of the state and all parts of, the DMV area, I think we'll be okay.
Coach, something that comes to mind is, they can go 6'5", 6'7", 6'7", Rochester 6'7", 6'8". That's a big lineup.
Mm-hmm.
How does that change your strategy? Because you've got multiple personnel. I mean, Isaiah's a strong 6'7". He's a big kid. But if they go that big, I mean, how does that differ from when they don't have that big front line in?
Well, they did that big front line when they played us during the regular season, and we spread them out, and that didn't really go too well for them. So I don't think they're going to do that again. Because Isaiah is just a matchup nightmare. You put a bigger guy on him, you can take him out on the perimeter. You put a smaller guy on him, you can take him inside. So he gives us that kind of jack of all trades and make it hard for you to kind of guard us a little bit. And then, we got guys that can make shots. I mean, obviously Tay is extremely gifted scoring the basketball. You got Desmond Hopkins doing the things he's doing, handling the basketball and creating for others and himself. Mekhi Diller's a great passer, even though he's not one of the bigger scorers on our team. So he's a great glue guy with all those guys around him that can shoot the basketball. And you come off the bench with Abe Halim. And in the last week and a half has probably been, one of our top players, especially scoring the basketball the way he's had. He had a 23-point game, a 16-point game in the playoffs when we really needed it. So, and Ryan Keene is another one that just always in the right place and makes the right pass and finds guys. And then Kai Wilcox comes in after having up and down time and scores nine big points and against Oscar Smith, and looks like he's supposed to be shooting the basketball as many times as he did because he's very confident in himself. So, there's a lot of things that they can do on their side because they're talented, but, there's a lot of things that they're going to have to deal with on our side because we're talented as well.
Will Isaiah Vick be the primary defender on Jordan Scott?
We'll see how it goes. You tell us that. That's an option. Isaiah's a very gifted defender, and the size kind of matches up a little bit, but, we got a few options that we can go with, so we'll see how it goes.
Okay. All right. Well, look, I just have one last question. I know Kirk wants to ask you about Hampton and Tuscarora, just because Tuscarora is a local team, and you've had experience playing against Hampton, and their only two losses were to one of the teams that also beat you all in Woodside. But I guess the last thing I want to ask you about is, during a week like this, do you hear from, or do you reach out to maybe some of your former coaches or mentors? Like, do you hear from a high school coach or an assistant college coach or anybody during a time like this?
Yeah, it's always good to get input from different places. It's always good to know that if I have a question or something to ask, some of these guys that have been, influential in the time of me being a coach, that I can reach out to them. So, it's, you got obviously Keith Honore, our coach with him, and then you got Tony Bentley, who was a guy that I talked to and lean on a lot, stuff like that. And, as much as we might be competitors, I talk to Carlos Poindexter all the time. So, it's just, and people wouldn't believe it, but I talk to Mike Desmond a good amount all the time too. So it's, a good coaches. I just got a message from Doug Craig, saying good luck, and obviously hope both of us find out a way to lose the game so he doesn't have to watch us win. So that was a funny one. But these guys are supportive. I really appreciate them, and all of us are like a little kind of like a fraternity, especially up in Northern Virginia. So we talk to each other, and it's funny enough. I talk to the coach in Hampton. I talk to E all the time as well. We talk back and forth about different type of strategy. So I wish him luck, obviously, in that. And Dwight being a Hampton guy, as much as it might pain me, so I have to give them a little bit of like a nod there.
Yeah, he texted me and he wanted to know how to handle the guys at the end of the bench that never get in the game, and I instructed him on that philosophy. But so real quick, I do want to get your take on Hampton, because you played Hampton, and Tuscarora, a team that's not that far away, is going to face them on Friday. So I wanted to ask you about that, but just a little bulletin board material. If you watched our previous episode, I flipped. I don't like to flip. I like to be consistent. So I was enamored with South Lakes when they played Madison, and I switched my pick. And I'm going to stay with that pick, even though
Coach Rivers, he got
settled down.
I don't know why you act like you say something different every show.
Every show. He's got you.
I want to tell your kids that I'm picking South Lakes, but see, I know you. See, Rusty says something about Phoebus football, and they act like they've called their baby ugly, their wife ugly, and they don't believe in them because we doubt them. So I believe in you. Love your kids.
Oh my goodness.
The thing is I won't be surprised at all if Patriot wins. Now, having said that, I know people at Tusky are very excited. They've been in a state championship football game. They're playing really well, but they're playing a team that you know well about that's very balanced. They've got a great guard, a great big, and they've been impressive. I believe, Rusty, they only lost to Woodside. So can you help us, all these Tusky fans, give us, I was going to say to Rusty, maybe 2 minutes on the Hampton Crabbers?
It's like you said, they got very well coached team, first of all, first and foremost. They going to be prepared. The one thing about it is, they can play a few different ways. They can get up and press you a little bit with their guards. Can't remember names all the time, but number 4 obviously is a really good scorer for them on the wing. About 6'4". Their point guard, is very crafty. I think is very underrated, to be honest with you. A very strong kid playing on the other guard position, might be a football kid. Really big kid inside, about 6'7", 6'8", physical kid, and some versatile guys that can do some other things coming off the bench that can shoot the basketball. So, they can play some zone, play some man. They can play a lot of different ways. So you just got to be prepared for a very good basketball team.
So want you to just get your reaction to this. Tuskegee got 3 great guards, really, and they can all score, but they're small. All right, their center's 6'1", and if they run and they pick up the pace and they're shooting a lot, which I think they're going to do, those 3 guards need to play lights out. All right, and if they are, how do you think Hampton will react to that with some of the size advantage? That's the last question I have for you on the Tuskegee-Hampton game.
I mean, they'll try to slow the pace. It can't be a track meet, obviously, because they got some bigger guys, and it probably wouldn't be in their favor to play that way. So, I imagine it would be some sort of zone that you would possibly see at that point to slow them down a little bit, and try to get the ball. And I'm not going to necessarily say get it inside, because that guy's not really a back to the basket sort of scorer, but try to attack the paint, make them have to defend you and keep you off the line.
Look, Coach, I am biased, and so I'm not afraid to say I'm pulling for you. I picked you. I will try if I'm sitting.
You picked us now, dog, but I'm watching 2 days. You better not be changing.
No, bro. No, I've had you since. I had you most of the year. I can't remember a time.
I picked you in the beginning of the year. Okay. So.
I've had you pretty much all year. But if I know you, you'll go back and check every one. I know.
You know me too well.
Yeah, man. But look, straight up, dog. I'm pulling for you. I'm praying for you and your athletes to have a safe trip. I am pulling for you. I do have a question. Do you guys, because this is Jay Golson question, do you guys go down the night before, or do you drive down?
That's that too.
I kicked around both ideas actually all day, and then basically came to a conclusion that we're just going to go down the day of.
Okay.
Just when I was looking at it, first of all, there's a lot going on in Richmond. I think there's some sort of national soccer tournament going on.
Sure, yep.
So that has drove the hotel cost up.
Yep.
So that was a thing that I thought about.
Yes, sir.
And then it just, they get to sleep in their own beds. I'm gonna have them up early anyway, regardless. So we'll have breakfast, at the school for them before we leave. Do what we got to do, and then hop on the bus and get down there.
All right. Well, good stuff. So look, thanks again, man. I appreciate you joining us, and just have a blessed week of practice. I just hope everything just goes away, guys playing. So thank you, Coach Rivers. Thank you, Kirk Hilliard. Yep. For Coach Rivers and Kirk, this has been the Kirk Byrd Show. We are out.
Appreciate y'all.